we found him. Our guest, Bo Brack, host of the PHNX Cardinals podcast. That's PHNX. Go find it. Go give it 5 stars. And he's also a reporter for the Arizona Cardinals. How you doing, Bo?
I'm doing great. Jeff, Steve, thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.
So if you're doing great, you're doing better than the Cardinals and the Saints because they are both in the dumpster right now. They are 2-4 in an NFL where no one has a good record, which is a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing because you're never out of it. It's a bad thing because you should have beaten the teams that are all 3-3. Both divisions, no one in them has a record better than 3-3. So, it feels like this is a game where one of the teams is going to leave it feeling better about themselves, and one of them is going to feel worse about themselves. And it's really just a matter of who wants the loss less, right?
Yeah, I mean, that summarizes it actually quite well. I mean, at least the Saints have, on their resume a win over the Seahawks, and their offense performed against the Seahawks, a group that the Arizona Cardinals have invested heavily in. It's like the defense they put no money towards, and the defense has shown up the last couple games. But then you've got this offense that you just invested primarily in your quarterback, Kyler Murray, and give him all the weapons he could have ever dreamed of, and they were held out of the end zone for a second time this season. So frustration reached a boiling point last week, guys. They're hoping that, DeAndre Hopkins is set to return from suspension on Thursday night. I think they believe like he's going to descend from the top of the stadium into the middle of the field and be like this cure-all to all their offensive woes, which he's going to make an impact, no doubt about it. But, I don't know if he's going to be able to remedy all of these issues.
Yeah, so I mean, for someone who just watched the Andy Dalton and wide receiverless Saints put up 39 on the Seahawks a week after the Lions put up 45, what exactly is the breakdown in the Cardinals offense? Because I would have thought that 9 points against that defense, which I think it might be the worst defense in the NFL. I didn't think that was possible. I didn't watch a second of that game. I'm going to be honest. I didn't have time. We played on Sunday. It's now Tuesday. But, how did that happen?
Can I blow your mind even more?
Yeah.
It was the special team scored a touchdown. I mean they just the offense did nothing. It was really shocking when you looked at it. I mean, as far as across the board, Seattle was a putrid defense. Like this should have been it should have resembled somewhat of a get right game for this offense. And it was the exact opposite. Like it was just like I said, frustration had reached a boiling point with this offense. And it was, a mix of play calling. There's a frustration with head coach Cliff Kingsbury, a guy who, if you look at his resume, obviously, but at the NFL level, guys, at the NFL level, because we can talk about his resume at the college ranks where he was 35-40. He was fired from his alma mater, Texas Tech, but he's improved every year. This team has improved offensively every year in every major statistical category, and now they've just regressed. And it's been a big thing without DeAndre Hopkins, but it shouldn't be a parody of itself like it was last week. And it was they were down to a backup kicker that they'd signed off the street that they had zero confidence in. So they were going on like 4th and 4 and 4th and long when they weren't trusting the kicker. And that would have helped put points on the board. But the fact remains they were held out of the end zone. Like they weren't even getting close to the red zone. They were decent between the 20s. But there's some huge flaws as far as the play calling and the execution, and that's just an ugly marriage right now for this offense. And Kyler Murray, I know it's going to be nice to get Hopkins back, but what were the expectations for week 1 for a guy who hasn't played since early last December?
Now, you mentioned with Kyler Murray, is there a disconnect with him and the head coach? Is it there's still any animosity with him and the franchise over that some of the details in the contract there? Or is he a guy just waiting for the new Call of Duty to come out? I don't know.
No, I mean, look, the criticism is fair in as far as, are you skeptical whether or not he can put it together? I mean, this is a guy who's an offensive rookie of the year. He's a 2-time Pro Bowler. He's as skilled as you can possibly be at the quarterback position. And this is his 4th year in the season in the system. And he was the handpicked quarterback for Cliff Kingsbury. I think it's a huge slump. Whether or not they can make the proper adjustment, I think that the league is caught up with Kingsbury's system, and he needs to play the game of chess that is the NFL, and he's not doing it. So he's either making the wrong adjustments or he's just not making any. And Kyler Murray is the one that's suffering a ton from that, as far as, how defenses are able to kind of game plan for the Cardinals and know exactly what they're doing. They're just playing with their turn signal on. So I think that Kyler Murray, they just need to put together a solid game plan. He needs to get in the rhythm, and he needs to, last week they were encouraged the first couple of drives. I mean, this was a team that was outscored 38-0 in the first quarter and finally put up their first quarter points last week against Seattle. They have 3 now. I mean, rejoice, everybody, throw a party, but it's they just absolutely just need to find a way to get on the scoreboard in the end zone. And DeAndre Hopkins, I mean, the numbers are eye-popping, like with him in the lineup and what the red zone offense looks like and how productive it can be. But now they have to say, okay, they can point to that and say, that's been the issue, guys. And now we're going to trend in the right direction. But like a lot of things with this team, like actions are going to speak way louder than the words that we've been hearing that are now kind of falling on deaf ears at week 7 now of the season.
So this is something that I've thought for a while. And so I'm glad that you're on here so I can run it by someone who knows better. Whenever I see Kyler Murray run, he looks just like Super Mario.
Okay.
Like how it's all legs, like his upper body stays completely still, and he's like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Look it up. I think it's fair.
I had a chance. Yeah, when he gets like the star and he's
because he gets going and it's like he's got these little legs, but he's turning them real fast. Anyway, so keep that in mind.
I thought that the one that took the internet by storm about how he looked like a toddler that stole his parents' phone. I mean, that one's tough. Like you hear all the short jokes, when I've been covering him as long as I have, but that one was good. That one was really good.
Yeah. But anyway, so I guess where I was going with that is, this is a Saints team that has struggled against mobile quarterbacks. They've struggled against specifically mobile quarterbacks that operate in RPO heavy schemes. And, I am far from an expert on the Cliff Kingsbury offense, but typically when you're dealing with college systems, you're going to see a lot of that. And I would say Cliff's system was, is very college-like. So, I'm just curious, is that something that the Saints are going to have to deal with in this game by your estimation? Because, we've seen them struggle against the Falcons. They have an RPO heavy offense. We've seen them struggle against the Eagles. They have an RPO heavy offense. So what are the Saints getting into with this matchup?
Yeah, I think that they're going to, there was a little reluctance, I think, to really utilize Kyler Murray, and Cliff had said Kingsbury had said throughout the offseason that Kyler doesn't like to run. He wants to establish himself as a passer first and foremost, but now out of necessity and for people clamoring for it, I think that there's been an emphasis on it. He had 100 yards last game against Seattle, and the first drive he had a huge 40-yard run, and I think that they're starting to really incorporate RPOs, design runs, things that if you were the head coach of Kyler Murray, you would absolutely want in your playbook. So I think that, absolutely, they're going to take that step forward this week. And, I'm sure that they've watched as much, if not, way more game film than we have. You would anticipate that Cliff Kingsbury is looking to be another team with a mobile quarterback to pull out more of their RPO material and put it on full display come Thursday Night Football.
Are you anticipating that Robbie Anderson will be ready to go Thursday night after they just acquired him?
Yeah, he's going to be, according to Kingsbury, he's going to be used in select packages. He's he's kind of, what his skill set is, right? It's
run straight.
Run straight, run fast. But, that's something that they've been lacking. I mean, as far as he's got the 4.3 speed, he's got the 6.3 height. They've got the speed in the lineup, but they don't have the diversity as far as the height. I think that Robbie Anderson should, it's not going to be a ton of plays, but he's going to have his opportunities. And, you guys have seen him in the NFC South for so long. He hasn't burned the Saints in his career, but you've seen highlights of him where he can take the top off of defense and he can make a play. And if the Cardinals get one of those, two of those, it's one or two more than they've really gotten consistently throughout the year. So Robbie Anderson, I think, especially with DeAndre Hopkins on the field, like you have to account for DeAndre. So if you can get a play or two where you think you've got a shot one-on-one and he can get that separation, they're going to take it.